Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a wreath. We're going to be doing it step by step tonight from start to finish. Got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's been in chat tonight, so if you've got questions, you can ask those in chat and we'll try to answer. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm going to try to keep this one fairly simple. Tonight we're going to learn how to do pine leaves, some eucalyptus, some berries, and some wreath branches and things, and then a easy background with wood and a bird. So there's a lot of little things that we'll learn tonight, but I'm going to show you step by step, like I said, how to do it. I don't think it's going to be all that tricky. I'm going to really try to keep it simple as we can. I've got a red label Fredrix canvas today. This is the 12 by 12 inch size, and I've painted it with a light coat of burnt umber and used a large brush to just go up and down here to start my wood grain. You can kind of see it already sort of has that streaking, and it just gives us a head start tonight. I'm using, this one is a gesso brush from Princeton artist, gesso 5450 2-inch. So any kind of large gesso brush, this one's like a hog bristle brush, that's going to be really helpful for the wood grain. So kind of a stiffer bristled brush will work the best for it. And as far as our wreath goes, you're going to want some sort of an angle brush. So I've got a couple of different options here. Short dagger number 4 in the Princeton Aspen, and then this one is the Dakota. I've also got it in the Summit number 6 angle. So kind of a largish angle brush. The dagger striper is just longer and a little bit more curved on this end of it. And so that'll help us doing the wreath branches and things. And then we're going to want a fan brush for the pine boughs, possibly, not 100% sure, but this is a short fan. This is a 4 bristle fan for that. And then for our smaller berries and smaller details, you're going to want a couple smaller angle brushes or a round or a filbert, maybe all of them. I'm not sure. I'm going to mention them as I use them, but these ones in the short red handled are the VelvetTouch 3/8 inch and 1/4 inch brushes. Those are kind of my must-haves on any of my brush lists. They'll do just about everything. So all right, and then the small round brush, this one is a 2 round, but just kind of a medium to smallish round brush that we can do some small dots and things on our berries will be helpful. Let's go over our colors. Black, carbon black in this case, burnt umber. I've got it in the heavy body acrylics. All of these up here, except for this one, and this one are heavy body acrylics, and then these 3 are fluid acrylics. Burnt sienna, cadmium, nope, not that, yellow oxide, sorry, cadmium light, phthalo green yellow shade, ultramarine blue, dioxazine purple, quinacridone magenta, cadmium red light, unbleached titanium, that's the same color, just in fluid here, and that's in Matisse paints. They have a fluid line that I like. And then this one is titanium white, and some gloss glazing liquid. All right, let's get going here. Got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. I'm not going to draw anything yet. I'm just going to go ahead and put my wood grain on there, get that going, and then we will go from there. So I'm going to start with black. This kind of brush you don't want to add a lot of water to, so I really could like spray I might spray my paint instead of my brush. You know, don't dunk your brush in water. Try to keep it dry. And we're going to add some darker grain. And you can see how I'm holding the brush kind of perpendicular and just barely dragging it. I'm barely touching it down. But because that paint's a little bit fluid, it comes off really easily. So that's the key, I think, is to have kind of a wet paint for this. It makes it a little bit easier for the brush to have texture, because it's not sticking. If the paint's too thick, it's just going to stick to the brush. It's not going to come off and you'll have to press down to get it to come off, and then you'll end up with thick lines. So, all right, that looks good. And it's okay if you have some areas that are a little bit thicker than others. It does not matter. I'm going to take it and kind of do a couple of places that are a little bit darker, kind of in here and maybe in here where I want kind of the background, like wood slats or something. All right, that looks good. And I'm just going to take a paper towel here, try to get off most of the moisture. Or most of the color. I'm not worried about that black so much as just kind of getting most of that paint out. I don't want to dip it in my water though. All right, so that's good. It's gonna pick up the other colors and kind of turn this gray, which is what we want. We want it to be kind of gray. So I may not have had to pull off as much paint as I did. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now this time I'm going to be really, really careful with it and try to keep it fairly straight up and down. Although wood grain does kind of wiggle a little bit. It's okay if you kind of do some wiggles. I'm holding it side up. What am I trying to say? On its side here too sometimes. Just to get a different kind of wood grain, because it'll kind of, some of the brush will kind of repeat the grain. And so you might want to, get a different pattern going. Just turn it sideways to do that. Okay. Picking up a little bit of the burnt umber there. Oh, I like that burnt umber in there. I'm going to do some over here too. And just do as much or as little as you want, as weathered, aged as you want on there. No real right or wrong way of doing this. It can look like it's painted. Like if I did a lot of white, it'll just look like it's got some paint on here. But these really weathered boards, like the one in this photo, a lot of gray and white in them. So really going fairly light with this color. That looks great. Doesn't it look like wood already? Mm-hmm. It's amazing how fast that comes together. Try it. It's super fun. All right. And then, let's go ahead and let that dry. I was going to go ahead and put in the lines, but I don't think I will yet. I think I'll just let that dry. But one of the keys is you're not going to want to start in the middle here. You want to start at the top and go all the way down with your brush strokes. And like I said, just try to kind of keep them even with the side of it. It's okay if they kind of get a little wonky, but, just for the most part, try to keep them level, parallel. All right, I'm going to hand that off to Mark to dry really quick. Oops, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a really quick dry is all it needs. While he's doing that, I'll show you what we worked on Saturday. This is our bonus video for our patrons, the $5 and up level. You can find information about that down in the description. It's patreon.com/AngelaFineArt. But we work on one of these once a month. This took us about 4 hours-ish, something like that, around 4 hours, I think. And then our $10 level has its own Facebook group. And we do a video every week with them. You can see the traceable we worked on, the design for that. It's going to have sunflowers. This is our project for this month, and we'll work on this every Thursday through the end of this month, so this week, and then into November. We'll finish it in November. Usually 3 to 4 weeks to finish a project, and those kind of run about an hour to 2 hours a week on Thursdays, where we work on these projects all month long until they're finished. But you can see it's very flat looking right now. This is the very beginning base coats. It's going to be kind of pastel colored pumpkins. This one's starting to get a little bit of dimension, but you can see how flat these look until you get the highlights and the shadows in there. So we'll be working on the pumpkins next week, and then putting in all these fun sunflowers and branches and berries after that. So plenty of time to still get in on that project if you're interested in that. I did a stacked pumpkin here on YouTube probably, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. It's a pretty old one, but that was actually a really fun project. So if you just want a free one to find, it was regular, just orange pumpkins that were stacked in that video. All right, I think Mark's back here. Thank you, hon.
Top and middle may be a little.
That's fine. Looks great. All right, so
And the painting does
just
too.
one more thing. What?
Said and the painting does too.
Yeah. I'm gonna put in our dark slats. So just get I've got the 2 round and a T-square, so I'm keeping it straight, and you're gonna want to, don't use your husband's good one for this. Get your own and just sacrifice it to the paint gods, because it's gonna die. It just, I finally had to break down and get another one for myself so that I could read the numbers on it, because this one is so beat up, abused. All right, so there we go. So there's our wood slats, and then I'm just gonna take this black burnt umber color and do a few very, very like random little wiggles in here to kind of maybe do some knots, dab some nail holes or some thin lines. You don't have to do this part if it stresses you out. Do what feels fun for you, you know? This should be fun. So if you're getting stressed out, take a break, get a drink, calm, and just kind of know that when you're in the middle of this process, sometimes it looks bad while you're working on it. So, and that's normal. Like, it'll look worse before it looks better sometimes. I call it the ugly stage, when you're painting and it kind of just doesn't really look the way you think it should. And that's really normal with paint. Mark's phone's going off over here. I don't know what he just went out of the room. Somebody's calling him or something. Your phone's going off, hon.
Oh. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So, anyhow, so what I was saying was, it's really normal for you to feel like it's not looking real great. It's part of the process. The paintings generally go through a process of, you have a lot of high hopes, think it's going to be great, I've got all this great ideas, and you start, and then as soon as you put paint on the canvas, you start to change, your vision. It doesn't immediately look like what you have envisioned in your head, and so you start to doubt yourself. And so you go through this process of, oh, this is bad. Oh, this is really bad. I don't know what I'm doing. And, kind of like this whole inner dialogue that's happening while you're painting. Super common, happens with every artist just about, I think. And, but it passes. You just have to ignore it and just keep kind of doing what you know to do. I'm walking you through it. So if you just do the steps as I'm showing you, we'll get you to the other side of that and hopefully have a decent painting for you at the end of it. So that's the idea, at least. Okay, so there we go. That's all I'm going to do to just kind of fancy it up a little bit. Nothing much. Let's go ahead and draw in our Cardinal, because that's going to be a big part of where we're going to put the wreath. I just want to make sure that I have room for it. So it's going to be kind of a egg shape here for the body, and then the head's kind of tucked back It's got a little bit of a roundedness, and then just a little top. It's almost at the top. Just this picture, the way he's facing, it's almost like a little dunce cap at the top of his head. There, if you did a line like that, it really looks kind of like that line there, and then a line diagonal back, and this way, and then the beak is setting at an angle here and out.
So
Right,
I
like
wonder
that.
how many people don't know what that is.
Dunce cap.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's probably super politically incorrect.
Yeah.
And our generations, we had to be tough. That's all I'm saying. We got bullied by the teachers and everybody. They didn't use dunce caps in my day.
in the corner.
Yeah, no. But we did have timeouts and detention. So I'm sure they still do that. All right, so here we go. I'm going to kind of do my direction of my wreath now. And I'm not going to put as much. I want more of the lines showing. I changed my photo at the end. I wanted a little bit more greenery in it. So I found another wreath, and I kind of tried to combine them, but it didn't combine very well. So I'm going to combine kind of my original idea for this wreath and the other one that I found that I liked too. So it's going to have a little bit of both. A little bit of green and a little bit of the stick showing. And it's amazing how this canvas just already got filled up by this wreath. I'm going to move it up just a little bit and move this out and just use up that whole canvas if I can. So the center of it will be kind of right in here, I think. And if it's helpful for you, you can do another circle, to kind of have a perimeter of where you're doing outer circle, kind of where your boundaries are, to fill up that space evenly, and then do your inner circle, and then you kind of have a better idea of knowing where you want to put your boundaries for your greenery and stuff that's happening in the wreath. Okay, so we got that. This needs to be dry. The background needs to be fully dry before we do this next step. So make sure if you need to, just go ahead and dry it fully. I'm going to get some burnt umber here.
Get yourself a trusty sidekick to dry for you.
Right, or get your husband to do it like I do. He's an expert at it now. All right, so I'm loading up this short dagger. Again, having fluid paint is going to be key here. If my paint is too thick, it's just going to stick to my brush. Anytime you've got a brush that's got a real thinness like this, where it tapers out to where these end ones are super thin and kind of not fragile, but you get the idea, less sturdy. You're going to need to thin your paint. So liner brushes, fan brushes, some round brushes, depending on, the thickness of the bristles. They all will benefit from thinning out your paint. And I'm just going to go over the top of my Cardinal. I needed to kind of know where to put it for my wreath, but now that I've got it sort of marked in here, I don't know why I even drew it really. I could have figured that out, I'm sure. What?
You can do that in your sleep.
Do the
nest in your sleep.
Yeah. Let me go over it a little bit more slowly for those who haven't done this a million times. Like me. So you're going to load your brush flat, and this would be the same for a angle brush. I'm using this one because it's longer, it's going to hold more paint, and so I can paint longer with it without having to reload. And you're going to want to keep your brush in a line. So if I was to, let me get a practice sheet. Oh, there goes my bucket.
Don't mind that.
Hair dryer in it. That's all right. Remind me it's my feet or I'll step on it. All right.
I'll come get it for you.
Thank you. So I'm wanting to keep my brush angled towards the line that I'm drawing, so that it's always the flat edge that is in contact. If I do like this and don't turn it, I'm going to get a wider swath of paint there. So just kind of keep an eye on that. That can make this a little bit trickier. And if that is a problem for you, you can use a round brush and you won't have any of the issues of having to turn the brush. So that can be a little tricky. But you can kind of compensate for it by just making shorter brush strokes. So, just doing like this, and then you don't have to do these long sweeping brush strokes like I'm doing. This will be just fine. You just do enough of them and it'll fill in your space fine for you. Okay. Thank you, honey. All right. Put that chalk away. So did the burnt umber, and now I'm going to go back in with the burnt or the unbleached titanium and just kind of fill back in some more with that. We're going to do lots of greenery and other things here, so not all of this is going to show, but some of it will. So just take your time and kind of think about where you want to place these. I'm trying to leave some of them on the outside here, kind of coming out and creating kind of an interesting shapes too. And then a lot of times what I'll do along the outer edges is do kind of a sharp angled back in. So come around and do kind of an interesting angular shape, because some of those branches will not be, perfectly smooth. They'll be kind of angled in or forced in, and have a little bit of a angular shape. Just a little bit. Some of these are a little bit thicker than others too. So you can push down a little harder if you want a little bit thicker lines on some of them. And now that I'm kind of getting to this part, I'm just going to kind of see where I'm seeing some in-between spaces, or maybe kind of just look at it as a whole and say, okay, I want, it's looking a little lopsided on one side here, so I want to maybe round out this top part here and put a couple brush strokes up there that round that out for me. That's looking pretty good, I think. I'm happy with that. And then we'll just do kind of a mid-tone, maybe yellowish color for some of the branches here. So get a little bit of burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide here, and kind of have, so we started out with the dark, kind of did some light, and we'll do some mid-tone ones now. And just, it's all about the layering. And you don't need a ton of any one color. You want a little bit of each of these to show through. So we're not covering up all that burnt umber. You can still see those burnt umber ones underneath. And we're just adding to and around it. Right, like that. Get some more burnt umber now, and maybe go back in and add some burnt umber with this brown here to darken it up a few places. All right, that looks good. All right, I'm going to let that dry. Ideally, I would hair blow dry it, but I'm not going to bother Mark again. I'm going to try to paint. I'm going to try to paint the green. We'll see if it doesn't work. We'll have him dry it, but I'm going to try and see if we can get the green on here. At least some of it. So I'm going to get a little bit of black with my phthalo green yellow shade. maybe a little bit of burnt sienna, yellow oxide mixture there. There we go. That'll turn it that kind of olive toned green. And I'm just going to kind of pick a few spaces that I think I want some greenery, and using the angle brush, kind of create my middle line and then kind of shoot it off on either side. So I'll do it on paper here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do kind of a middle line, and then from that I'm going to do some on this side and do some on this side, kind of coming off, and then I'll do some kind of in the middle too to fill in, and then I'll do another layer with a lighter color kind of over the top just in the middle there. So that's what I'm going to do with these pine. And then there's some that look like spruce maybe, or cedar, where they have kind of a little bit more. I'm not doing a very good job here, but you get the idea. Kind of a little bit more branching happening there, like that. So we'll do some kind of like that too. Well, hopefully you get the idea.
I got the idea.
You got the idea.
Yep. But I don't know if it's
You
important for
getting
me to-
ideas?
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I know. But how will we get the chickens in the...
To wear spandex.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it was. Pinky in the brain. That's a blast from the past. Okay. And
The old
I'm going to
hello
do
nurse.
kind of... What?
And the old hello nurse.
Oh, gosh.
And the teacher
Yeah.
asking you if you were a nurse.
Right. Because Spencer was saying that to the girls in class.
Well, I thought he said that you were a nurse.
Oh, maybe because you were saying it so much to me.
Yeah, to you. Like, yeah, my mom's a nurse.
Yeah. Dad needs to be careful what he says. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of go behind my bird with some of these. It doesn't have to be completely full, but I'm gonna kind of try to tuck it in to some parts of the wreath here and let it go kind of off the edge in some places too. And if you've got areas of your wreath that are really wet, you may want to just avoid those until they're drier. This is doing okay for me. The branches here that I did before are not particularly wet. They're not grabbing on this. So doing okay. And I'm kind of keeping them sort of facing the same direction. You can see I'm kind of doing them facing out and this way. And then as it comes back around, kind of coming back up. And we can always add more of the the branches too. We may do that at the end to kind of fill in some of those a little bit more if we decide to, or go over the top of some of this, so it's multi-layered. Getting some really dark here with the purple and kind of add some of that to kind of the middle parts of some of these so they really cover. Because sometimes when you're doing this, you go over the top of the lighter color, especially if you're not using a really high quality paint, and you'll be able to see through, the underlayer. So you want to make sure that anytime you're crossing over your lighter colors with this, that you're completely covering it. So you may have to go back in and do a second layer if you need to. Just kind of check that. Make sure that you don't have any white that's peeking through your greens.
It's very important to make sure your underlayers are not showing.
Right. Yes. In all things. It's a good life tip.
Painting parallels life in so many ways.
Yes. Who knew?
Mm-hmm. Hey, I mean, it's amazing that you're doing this video today
Why?
because we are 2 months away from.
From what? 2 months away from Christmas?
Yeah.
Is it 25th? Oh,
Yes, it
wow.
is.
Oh my gosh, 2 months? What?
Except for those
How did that happen?
who are
I'm never ready.
in the Australia area. They're already close. They're much closer to
Closer?
Christmas than we are.
Never, ever ready for it. Never. It always sneaks up on me. I always think I'm going to plan it out in the summertime next year. And then it never happens. Never. All right, I'm going to get my 3/8" angle brush here and get some of my yellow, Indian yellow. No, I keep saying Indian yellow. It's yellow oxide. You could use Indian yellow if you wanted to. But I thought yellow oxide would be better with the wood tone. Excuse me. I'm going to use this angle brush for the smaller sprucey type leaves. I think it's going to be a little easier to control because it's shorter. So I'm just going to kind of dab in. I haven't done my highlights on my pine yet because I want to let it dry. So I'm just kind of, mainly with this, you're just wanting to fill it up until you can't really tell. Like right now, everything is very like obviously placed, you know? So I just want to kind of confuse the eye a little bit. If you just clutter it up like crazy with all kinds of stuff, your eye, we can then direct the eye to where we want it to be. And that'll be kind of our berries, and our bird will be our focal point. But the rest of this wreath, will kind of, be hopefully harmonious, but not as like shocking as right now. It's all very shocking. You get the idea. So shocking.
I need that soundbite.
Shocking. From Elf. You could make one. I don't think it's copyrighted. You could make one of your own, mimicking it. That would probably be legal.
I do feel good at it.
I think it's funny. All right, mixing up some eucalyptus color. So it's kind of a teal color. It's going to have a little bit of the green, a little bit of the blue, and a little bit of the black here. And I'm going to use that to do some eucalyptus and some of the more, the smaller pine needles, like the sprucey, blue spruce kind of looking needles. And speaking of, I need to do a much darker color for those. There we go. If you get it on there, if you put it on there and you can't see where you did it, then you need a different value. So you need it either lighter or darker, or maybe both. So just adding different layers of colors and values. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and not cough and making my voice sounds really weird. Values and colors and sorry.
We're hitting that dry air season.
Oh gosh, I know. I've just had this dry cough. Driving me crazy. All right, let's go and put some up here above our Cardinal. And make sure you're bringing it down far enough so you're not, let me just go ahead and go over his body altogether there. So I'm just going to pretend like he's not there for now. You could cluster this too, like if you wanted all the blue on one side and, that kind of thing. You don't have to like evenly space it out like I am. And now I'm going to go much lighter. So, oh, there we go. Pretty. Okay, so I've got the mid-tone, dark tone. I'm going to do my pine too. My pine is still, I put it on pretty thick with that fan brush. It went on super thick, so I'm having to still wait for it to dry a little bit. But I'm getting there. Just kind of doing same thing as I did here, only just on a smaller scale for these ones, you know, just a little bit smaller. Kind of a main stem and then the smaller branches. And don't forget the middle. The middle ones are coming straight at us, so those are actually kind of almost like a dot. But you can just kind of, we'll just pretend they're all kind of laying flat. Makes it easier to paint. Okay, so let's do, I do want to do some eucalyptus, so maybe I'll go a little bit more gray with that color. Get a little bit of the ultramarine blue and the burnt umber. And maybe some unbleached titanium. And let's try some cadmium yellow light. That'll make my green. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, so that's a nice, like, kind of a, yeah, nice sagey color. Maybe a little bit more yellow to pop it. And for these eucalyptus, I'm going to kind of just do, like you could do a, they're kind of going in opposite directions of the rest of them, aren't they? Just kind of dabs like that, like round dots, like that. Okay. And then I'm kind of leaving these spaces in here for our berries to go too. So, but I do want these eucalyptus to kind of fill in some of these areas. And then you could also do like the long eucalyptus that does like these lines on either side, you know, that kind of classic eucalyptus shape. So do some like that. I like it. Just with this round brush for these leaves shapes, I'm just setting my brush down and just basically making a blob and kind of clustering them together. It makes really easy leaves. This brush does all the work for you. Really pretty. Like it. I like it. All right. That looks great. I definitely think I need more dark branches. Now that I've got this all done, the only ones that I'm really seeing much against that background are these lighter colored ones, which is fine, but I do need some dark contrasts. So maybe what I'm going to do is let me go ahead and have you take this, honey, and dry it for me really good, because I've got a lot of layers on there. And you don't want to add too much more to it. So what I'm going to do is glaze on my wreath. And glazing requires some sort of, I like to use a flat brush for it. So I'm going to grab one. I don't have one out. So I'm going to grab an 8. This will give me a little bit of control, but kind of a nice flat brush. I could probably use one of my angle brushes, but that one's a little bit small. I like a little bit bigger brush for the glazing. And basically glaze is just going to be a thin, transparent coat. So I could use water. And if you were doing this on paper, water would be perfectly fine. And we're going to go over the top of our branches and things, and we should be able to see them through this color if we do it right. The glaze is just going to be basically a glue. So we will use it on our canvas to make it makes the paint transparent, more transparent, depending on how much you use of it. The more of it you use, the more see-through it will be. It looks white, but it actually dries clear, and it goes on clear. So we will paint it on over the top of our wreath in places, and some places I'm going to go fairly dark with it. So some places where maybe I want a little bit more shadows, I might go almost black with it. But I can still see just faintly some of those branches through it, right? So that's what we're going to do over the top of our wreath in places, and just add some depth into the wreath. It'll also kind of, on top of the lighter colors, it will give them a little bit of depth too. So when you're glazing, just think transparent. The more glaze, the more transparent, more water, the more transparent. But if you add too much water to a heavy body acrylic, you're going to loosen that binder. There's not as much binder in these paints as they are. There's a lot of fillers and binders in like craft acrylics, the cheaper acrylics. But these are going to have a higher strength, higher concentration of pigment. So the paints that I use, the heavy body acrylics. So you need to make sure you're adding back in that binder by using either matte medium or a glazing medium of some sort. I like the golden one because it's got an extender. It's slow drying, so it doesn't dry as fast. Some glazes that I've used will dry almost immediately. Like you won't be able to go back over it at all. It's just like you set it down and boom, it's dry, and that's not really what we want. So, okay. So we kind of know what we're doing here, hopefully. This is dry. So what I'm going to do is take a wet paper towel, and I'm going to clean off my chalk lines. I'm not going to clean off my bird. I still want him there. But I'm going to clean off all the other lines that I have under here just by wiping them down. There we go. And getting some water on my brush here and picking up my burnt umber. I'm going to start with that and see if it's dark enough. If it's not dark enough, I'll add a little bit of black to it. And I feel like I'm probably going to need some black, but we'll see. So it's just going to tint. It's not going to bother our green really much. In fact, I can put it over my leaves too, and it'll kind of tint them in places, give them a little shadow. But see how it's changing that color of those lighter toned branches. So it's kind of giving them a little bit richer color. And yeah, that's better. I probably would have done this before I did my greenery, but my wreath was still wet when I did my greenery, so I couldn't do this. You have to do this on a dry canvas. You can't glaze over wet paint. It'll just mix with it and wipe it off, basically. Okay, that looks good. A little bit darker. And then I am going to go ahead and get my brush here and just add some more branches in. Now that I've got my greenery in, this will give me a good place to add some branches, maybe get some black here. Add some branches over and in between some of these. Just short little ones. Doesn't need to be everywhere, but see, just adding little bits. And again, I probably, if I wasn't trying to save time by not blow drying earlier, I probably would have done this before I did my greenery, so I didn't have to paint around them. So if you're doing this at home, you're not stressed for time, then you can do this first and then do your greenery. So kind of skip back a step from where I did. I still haven't put in my highlights and stuff into my pine branches here, so they're fine. Okay, that looks better. Feels like it's a little bit more the right color. A little bit better. All right. And it does feel a little bit lopsided where my bird is, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of start putting him in just so that I know what else to put around him. So I'm going to get my Quinacridone Magenta and my Cadmium Red Light. I like to make my own red. So I like to have a really warm red, like a Cadmium Red Light or even a Cadmium Orange. And then a Quinacridone Magenta, which is a really purpley violet toned magenta red. Color like a alizarin crimson would work. So something like that. I like to use both of those together. They make this really beautiful bright red. It's very similar to cadmium red, but by mixing my own, I can make it more pink if I want it, or I can make it more orange if I want it. I can really easily kind of go back and forth and change my tone. I just prefer it. So, but if you wanted to, you could use your favorite red, whatever red you wanted to. Cadmium red would work just great here. Cadmium red medium. I'm going to have to get, you see how you can see those branches through him? So I need to add white to him. The white will make your paint opaque. See that? And so anytime you have that problem, just add a little bit of white. Even if it's not the color you're wanting, we'll just add the red on top of this after this is dried. So it'll add a step, but that's not a big deal. It'll actually make our red that we put on more vibrant if we have a white underneath it anyways. So I would probably recommend doing this anyways, even if your red shows up, because what'll happen is your red will go on a little bit darker if it's going on top of a darker canvas like this. All right, so here we go. Let's see, his tail. His tail, generally, if you go from the back of the neck to the rump, the tail is going to be about that same length. So it's going to, and it kind of comes in a straight line from the top of the head. So I'm going to do the top of the head there, a little dunce cap. And he didn't do anything wrong. He's misunderstood.
When I was rinsing out the brush, there was one sitting in the bush by the feeder.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They stand out
I know this time of year.
brilliantly this time when
Yeah.
everything's turning brown and gray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had one year, we had that whole set of babies. I think we probably had, I want to say 20
Oh, yeah.
Cardinals easily
Yeah.
at the feeder. And they had, I think, what was it, like, there was a parents, and they must have had 6 to 8 babies, something like that. They had a lot of babies.
Yeah, there was a couple.
And they would bring them to the feeder, and you'd see the dad sitting there, and all the babies sitting around, flapping their wings, wanting him to feed them.
Yeah.
And he's like pecking at the food, like,
It's right.
look, it's right here.
You're standing in it.
Dude, just down. Just put your face in it. Yeah, it was really funny. We like to bird watch.
Yeah.
We've gotten to that age now where that's a fun thing. Was it our son that was saying that? I never really understood it until I got my own home.
Yep.
And now he's like, I get it now.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I'm feeding my birds in my yard now. It's like, yeah, it's fun.
I'm wondering what they are, looking them up.
Right, exactly, yeah. Like, ooh, what's that one? Yeah. All right, so there we go. He's not quite the right color yet, but he's covering up there. And so now we kind of know where he's going to be. We can put the rest of our stuff around him and kind of see that, you know, we've got a big empty space like right here under his feet there that we can put some greenery or berries or something. So any questions? Are we doing good?
We are doing good.
Nice.
You want questions now?
Well, about what we're doing here.
No,
Nothing
specific to this. Right?
Okay. No, we'll answer the random questions later at the end.
Okay.
Helps me stay on focus, stay on track. Got a lot to remember during these live streams. I don't need any distractions. My brain is already distracted enough. Somebody asked me what I do, you know, that they were having trouble focusing when they were painting. And she was like, what do you do, you know, to help with that? And I was like, I do 0 on the day of the show. Mark can tell you, I do not schedule anything. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. We have lunch now. We've started doing that, but that's about the most that I do. I try to make sure that my brain is completely empty of all the to-do lists and the household worries and all that stuff. I know that's not necessarily practical for someone who's working and, you know, only finding time to paint on their, you know, in their free time, but that's what I have to do because I have to be fully focused when I'm, you know, I have a short amount of time that I can get this done in these live streams. So that's what I have to do. I purposefully schedule out anything on my in-between days. So my in-between days when I'm not painting are the days when I do my emails and do all the admin stuff and the things that, you know, don't pertain to what I'm doing here. And then on the day of the painting, I will look at the painting. I study it sometimes. I, you know, try to figure out what my lesson plan's going to be. I don't do a full lesson plan anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore. I try to I've done it enough that unless it's something really new that I don't know how I'm going to paint, I don't fully plan it out. I just kind of go wing it. But yeah, that's, so when I get, we used to do questions all the way through the video, but I watched somebody else that was doing art, and she saved hers for the end, and I'm like, oh, that's genius, because you know I get halfway through the painting, and then I get a question that has nothing to do with what I'm doing right here, and then I get distracted and start thinking about that, and then you know it's hard for me to like get back into the flow of what I'm doing here So I'm just going back through and adding some darker and lighter bits to the sprucey blue-green color here. I really like that color. I need to add some depth to my eucalyptus. They're looking a little flat, so I'm just going to grab some white, bring it over here in a clean spot, and then grab a little bit of that green that was in my eucalyptus and make a lighter version of it. All right, and then I'm just going to kind of find those leaves and kind of gently sort of I'm not like fully painting them in, but you can see I'm not outlining them, I should say. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what side maybe would be sticking up and catching the light, and just kind of dabbing on some lighter color on there. See that? Kind of trying to give them a little bit of depth. And we could say our light source is coming from this direction. So then, you know, anything that is pointing upward toward that light would be catching more light. Makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Good.
But what do you call a group of birds that stick together?
A flock?
Velcros.
Oh, I should have known.
We need a
Do you have a?
sponsor.
Do you have a?
I do, but we need a sponsor for dad jokes. So if you
This
have-
dad joke brought to you by. Mona gave me a good dad joke the other day in chat or in the thing. She was,
Really?
yeah. She said, oh shoot, I can't remember what it was now. You have to look in my comments and see.
Yeah, I'll just randomly look at some comments somewhere.
Oh, okay, never mind. You don't have the app that I have.
Your storytelling is nearly as good as mine.
It had something to do with picking your nose and your friends. I can't remember what it was. If I...
She's now looking up on her phone.
Yeah. Here, you go back through and find Mona's comment. Because she did it for you and I was supposed to tell you. Mona's one of our long time moderators. Man, she's been around since we were very first started. One of the first folks that would show up in our live streams way back when, before we had
20 viewers.
before we had the good cameras, and yeah, when we had 20 viewers watching us live. And okay, getting a little bit of the lighter color and dabbing in some of that. Okay,
So she said
starting to
that,
look good.
you know, people say they pick their nose, but I feel like I was just born with mine.
Okay. That was it.
But
Yeah.
It reminds me of the, you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Yeah. Yeah. You found your peoples. That's all I'm saying. Through me,
Yeah.
you have found your people.
Yes. My tribe.
Finally, Mark found his tribe. He has somebody to listen to his dad jokes. I laugh at his dad jokes. I'll listen.
Hey, they're
I don't-
basically held hostage here, so.
It's like, I don't like the Naked Gun movies. I don't like Airplane. I don't like any of that stupid. I do like Monty Python, which does kind of fall in that sort of category, but I think, I don't know, I'm just not a stupid humor. Not that dad jokes are stupid. I'm just, or the people that like them. I'm just saying. I don't like them. Okay. I'm gonna just shut my mouth now.
Just paint.
I'm gonna make a lot of enemies. There's a lot of dad joke lovers out there
That's right.
that are our viewers. So. They're having a moment right now in social media. They're everywhere.
All those well-adjusted, well-educated, fine, upstanding citizens.
Right. Yes, that like a good dumb joke. All right. I got a fly caught in my paint there. Here he goes. All right, so now I'm just going to do the pine. I added a little bit of both of these yellows here to my green and a little bit of the burnt sienna to kind of make it that olive tone, that richer olive tone. I'm going to add my unbleached titanium. I don't have any more of the original color. I've already kind of mixed through it already, so I'm just going to add little bits of highlights to my dark green pine. And this color is pretty similar to what I have in the eucalyptus, so I'm gonna try to make it a little bit more brown maybe. I like it. Maybe brighten it up just slightly more yellow. And again, if you get this on here and then you're like, oh, I can't see it or whatever, you can always either glaze over it with a darker green. That's always an option. Glazing is great for just if you want to make small changes to an area of paint. You don't have to paint the whole thing over again. And just like, oh, I wish this was a little bit more yellow or something, you can use your glaze in that area and just kind of tint your painting in that area. Let's see how nicely this is going on. I'm going to go ahead and go through the tail here. My bird, I should have done this before I painted his tail in. And just kind of dabbing smaller ones in the middle part there where they're kind of coming straight at us. But yeah, this is turning out pretty good. I'm liking it. You can see how easy this is. It's just like, it's just a matter of layering. And every now and then just stop and kind of look at it from a distance. That can help you can kind of see things maybe that you missed. Like every now and then I look up at the screen and kind of look to see if any one area is looking a little bit rough or, unbalanced, uneven. But I'm trying to get my greens all kind of filled in mostly before I start doing my berries and my flowers. All right, so let's go ahead and put in our lavender flowers. So those will be kind of the easiest background flowers. Here they're sort of a filler. Actually, I take that back. I'm not going to put those in yet because I want to put in my berries. Those red berries are going to be what attracts the attention. Like our bird, they're going to be basically the same color as the bird. And I'm going to have to add white to it again so that they stand out. So let's go ahead and say there's going to be some right here. And I'm just using this angle brush, but you could use a round brush if you wanted to. Let's see, I'll put some right here. I'm going to put some randomly and then I'm going to cluster others together. So let's kind of trying to picture where these are going to look like. Let's go ahead and do a couple right here. I actually like this kind of corally red. I think I might leave these kind of coral like this. I like that color tone. And this is, it's kind of more, I'm wanting more autumn toned colors, but if you wanted to make this more Christmassy, you could go with, more just, classic reds and greens too. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellows and oranges to make it a little bit more autumn feeling. How's it going there, hon?
It's going well. Somebody would like to know, do you think this is doable for a beginner?
I think so. I think, I wouldn't do it for your very first painting, maybe, but if you've done a few, 2 or 3, and you kind of, I would go, let's say this, I would go through my beginner basics paintings, do those first, because those are going to give you all the techniques and tools. Even if they're not really particular favorites of yours, they're just, think of it like doing scales on a piano. You kind of have to learn the basics before you can play the harder, music kind of thing. So you want to kind of get those basic skills down, get some muscle memory going, and then you'll have an easier time of something like this if you have done 2 or 3 paintings already. I think there's like 6 or 7 in that series. And they get progressively harder as you go. So I would say if you get past the chair one, that would probably be the one that would have similar type of berries and things in it, where I teach. But I'm teaching kind of generally how to do this. So I more than others, where I just kind of jump in and do it. So I feel like as long as you take it slow in steps, and do it the way I'm showing you, I think it's doable. The color mixing may be something that would be tricky if you're not familiar with color mixing. So you could get yourself a set of like Liquitex Basics or something that had multiple colors of green and just use those. Just instead of having to mix all these greens, just kind of use 2 or 3 different pre-mixed colors. But I show you how to do it. Color mixing tends to slow people down, though, when they're first learning, I think. It's one of the biggest hurdles. That and just learning how to control the brush and knowing the techniques, of using it.
Yeah, I would think that also
Scraping all this off.
Enough of dark chocolate to the P.O. box wouldn't hurt.
Why? How would that help them with their painting?
Well,
It would help you.
well, see, there you go.
Check. I don't think I'm going to be able to save that. I'm just going to get rid of all that. Ooh, that came off easily. Nice. This is a glass palette. That's a glass scraper. Nothing fancy about it. Just, one of those you can get at any hardware store. And this has been really nice. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the person who sent me this right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. The name is escaping me right now. But she sent me this a couple of years ago, and I really love it. It's been great.
With an adjustment.
It does dry faster than the paper palettes, I have to say. So if you're used to that. So, okay, there we go. So we got a nice even disbursement of those colors. I'm liking it. So far, so good. Let's go ahead and grab my 2 round here, I think. Do I want that yet? Yeah, let's go ahead. And I'm going to make some of these little white flowers that I'm seeing. Just little dabs. I'm not going to do as many as in the picture. Just little. They're just kind of filler. This will help lead the eye around too, so think about where you may want to, place them to help guide the eye around. Find spots that maybe don't have anything in them yet. Or if you made a boo-boo, you can use it to cover it. It also is really helpful to use these kind of things for like the end of, if you have some branches coming in here and you don't like the way they look, you could put some there or somewhere like that. So it's just kind of a there we go. You can call it cluster them however you want. This is literally just dabbing. Not really anything fancy to this. They're just little baby's breath type little flowers of some sort. All right, and I thought I might do, let's go ahead and do the berries, the blackberries. So let's go ahead and get the magenta and purple. Kind of equal parts. Make kind of a wine berry color. I'm going to add some white. The white will make it more opaque. Both of those colors are transparent, so if we try to put them over a light color, they're just gonna show through the color. And let's go ahead and put in some berries. And the berries, I'm just going to dab a cluster of dots. So literally just going to dab my brush down in a little small cluster. Kind of overlapping and creating an oval shape. Oval circular shape. Putting a lot of these in. You can put as many or as little as you want. There's few, I should say. Using correct grammar.
So that reading that you do, throwing you off.
Yeah. Okay. It's not as bad as the British baking show pronouncing tortillas. I thought my eye was going to start twitching. Even the judges, that was what killed me. It was the judges, tortillas, and they kept calling the tortillas tacos.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a tortilla, it's not a taco. It's a taco when all the meat's in it. Oh well. This is what I'm talking to the TV about, Is there?
So I'm guessing that there's not very many Mexican restaurants in England.
I guess not. Yeah, you kind of take it for granted. But, of course, if it was like Indian food or something like that they would eat more regularly up there, I'm sure we wouldn't know the pronunciation for their terms either. So
correct.
I would just think, hey, we're doing a show. Maybe we should look up the pronunciation. Maybe not. Apparently not. That is not what happened. Nobody anywhere in the whole process of it was like, you know what, you're saying it wrong. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard they got some flack for that.
I think they did. I can see why. Yeah, I love that show though, even if they did. It's fun. All right. So just mixed up a little bit of dark green here and just adding it to my eucalyptus. I'm noticing it was just looking a little bit flat. So adding some darker tones in the middle area there and kind of around the leaves just a little bit, kind of like I did the white, just kind of do it in the areas where you think maybe it'd be a little bit darker. It's just they kind of turned out a little too flat. Once I get all these other things on here, I'd start to notice stuff like that. Okie doke. I want to do some like straw flowers type stuff, maybe with like a lemony, or like a butterscotch yellow. I'm going to get the mustardy yellow. That's the word. Burnt sienna. That's nice. I might get 2 yellows here and mixing those together. And then I'll get some white. and have a little bit of a brighter version of it, a little bit lighter, brighter with a little bit more white and my cadmium yellow light. Okay, and then kind of a darker version with the burnt sienna is a great color to mix with yellow to make it darker. Really pretty. Okay, so I'm going to start with kind of the mid-tone yellow there. Sort of my mustard. Let me see. I might want it a little bit brighter. There we go. A little bit brighter. And let's go ahead. This is what's going to kind of make it look a little bit more autumny. So if you don't want it to look autumn, then you can kind of skip this step. In fact, I don't know. I think I might just do it like little leaves instead of doing a straw flower because I don't have a picture of one in front of me, and I think it'll be too much. So I think I'm just going to do kind of like I did the white and do little bits, but maybe like little yellow leaves. Like maybe it's a yeah, that's nice. The purple looks a little bit odd right now because we haven't mixed in the upper colors, so they'll look a little bit better once we get that in. But I think this is just going to help kind of give us a little more of an autumn feel to the wreath. Right now it's feeling very Christmassy. Okay, nice. Nice. We can add more of that yellow later. I'm going to let that dry, and then I might add some of my brighter yellows. Let's go ahead and get some highlight color, and I'm going to get my magenta. And a little bit of the cadmium red light. And add that to my purple. So I'm going to get this kind of burgundy mauve tone. To add a little bit of burnt sienna to add that kind of orangey. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, kind of a raspberry. And I need a little bit darker, so I'm going to get a little bit more. I had too much white in my brush. A little bit more of those three. There we go. So we have kind of that wineberry, and I'm going to add just a tiny touch of purple. There we go. Okay, so all three of those with a little bit of burnt sienna here, and then this one has more white in it. And I'm going to roll my brush, and I'm just going to kind of set my brush down to create little dots on my berries. So I've already got my purple on there, so I'm just going to kind of pick a few to create some highlights, stick out, give it some dimension now. It's got form, no, it's got shape, and we're creating form out of the shape. So right now it's a solid shape, and by adding another color and value, we're going to add form and dimension, give it a 3D look. Bring it off the canvas, make it look more realistic. And right now my value is very close to the under color, so I'm not wanting to go like super radical on this color right now. I'm just kind of adding a little bit of a lighter tone to start. Okay, and then I'm going to get my highlight color with my white. Get a little bit of water. My paint's getting a little sticky here. I could spray them down too, that'll help. And then I'm going to do an even smaller dot, and I'm going to really kind of focus on the side that is touching the light or facing the light, and just do like little semi-strokes on that side of these berries. And really just kind of the ones that are maybe this half I'm not gonna do, just the ones that are really facing the light. And I'm going right over the top of, let's go and zoom in on one of these so you can really see what I'm doing, because I think it's too far away to really tell.
Okay, we're coming in.
Let's do these two here. Okay, that's good. So I have less paint in my brush so that I have a little bit more control. And I'm just going to set it down over the top. You can see where I've done these dots already. And I'm going to set it down and just kind of do the little kind of half strokes. Dab. Like that. Okay. I think less is more with this. Trying to think about each one of these being its own little circle, each one of these little sections of the berry being its own little circle that needs highlights. I was doing so good before you zoomed in. I don't know why it's not working for me now. I'm worried about staying on camera instead of...
You don't have to worry about staying on camera. I got you.
Okay. And then some of them making more red than others, Some of them more of the purple. We're going to probably glaze over some of these. So we'll add back in some of the darker tones to some of them. These are just a little bit big. I think that's what happened. I just made them a little bit big. But you get the idea. A little more here. In that after I painted it. I think that one too.
Make sure you smear it across the canvas.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already got yellow from somewhere. Okay, so there we go. There's our little berries. And then we'll get the purple, the dark purple, and get a little bit of glaze. I want this color to be almost full strength, close to full strength. I'm going to get a little bit of blue too. I feel like I want a little bit of dark blue, maybe a little bit of burnt umber just to take the saturation level down so that it's a little bit more neutral purple, not so bright in your face. And I'm going to use this to kind of come in back, and this is kind of an optional. This will maybe, I think it'll be important though, so I think it'll add a lot of dimension to these. Just kind of go around. I don't have to outline every single one of them, but if I kind of give them a little bit of a shadow kind of towards the bottom and in between in some places, really kind of give them a little bit more depth. So just kind of going through here and see that. So the difference between the ones I've done and the ones I haven't done, you can see how these look a little flatter. So just going through here and kind of, we put the highlight on the one side, so now we're doing this kind of on the opposite side of the highlight, kind of bottom edge. And some of these may be fully in shadow. You know, some of them may not get a lot of the light at all because they may have leaves or something in front of them that is blocking all the light, or they may be on the bottom side of the wreath a little bit. So you can kind of give them, they don't have to all be the same, is what I'm saying. You know, give them each a little character of their own. And that will actually make your paintings look more realistic. When I started to realize that and started to stop trying to make sure that everything was just so perfect, and you know, perfectionism really does kind of kill the look of a painting. If it's too perfect, it just doesn't. It looks a little bit off sometimes, especially in realistic paintings. You know. It can make things look a little bit false, because in reality, in nature, you don't see perfection. Everything's got its own character, and flowers have, you know, petals that are missing, or you know, whatever. They've got an odd number of petals sometimes, or they grow a little bit weird, or whatever, you know, you get the idea. We're just going back in now and dabbing back in just some little tiny dots in a few places. Okay, and then I'm going to get my bright white and just pick a couple of them to just do a couple of dots of bright white. A couple on each. See that? Makes it really pop. Don't do too many. There we go. Oops, this one. Okay. Cute little berries. All right, let's darken up our reddish red berries here. I'm going to get my Quinacridone Magenta and my Cadmium Red Light. This magenta has purple in it. That's all right. Let me get some magenta that does not have purple in it. How are you doing, hon?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Keeping you on camera.
Thank you.
Socializing.
Nice. Hi, everybody. I didn't really say hi. I just jumped right in and started teaching. All right. I'm going to get my angle brush, because this will make it a little bit easier to kind of load the corner with a little bit more paint. So I'm just going to, it's kind of all the way through there. That's all right. But I can dab in the corner with this and just kind of dab it around the edge there and leave my highlight. That light pink that we used is actually not a bad color for our highlight, so I'm gonna just darken up one side of these berries and leave a little bit of that highlight kind of peeking through. Maybe try and do. It's not cooperating much. There we go. Okay, and then let's get this darker one that's got a little bit of that purple in it. Maybe a little bit of black. I like adding black with red. It's a really nice, deep tone. It does really nice things to reds when you add it as a shadow color. I think because it's got a little bit of blue in it already. You know, black tends to have a blue undertone, and so it works really well with red because they're kind of next to each other on the color wheel. Or, you know, two primaries, I should say. For whatever reason, they do well. As opposed to like green, which you could add also, but it would more brown out your color instead of. It's just a really good clean shadow color to use with that red. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to use the burnt umber and black to kind of make my little centers of these berries. And they're not all facing the same way, so let's put some kind of facing down. Okay, and then there's a light center. Get a little bit of burnt umber and that gray kind of unbleached titanium, and kind of dab in around and in the center, round and in the center, just slightly with the tip of the brush. A little bit around in the center of that black. These are not dry, but that's okay. You can see I'm not being super careful, and I feel like it looks better when I'm not careful. Like I was being careful there, and it just kind of, you know, I think when you slow down and don't, at least for me, when I slow down and kind of overthink it, I don't like the results as much. Gotta get in the flow and just go for it. All right, I'm gonna use this brush here and put a little highlight on my berries here. I'm going to get the unbleached or the Cadmium Red Light. I'm going to go in and put some of this in on some of these berries as kind of a highlight too. So a little bit of the more orangey tone, and leave some of them kind of the more wine red color, and then get some white. I'm going to get this red here that has the magenta in it too, and use that. Maybe get a little glaze. I want this fairly light. And we'll put a little highlight on these berries, kind of like we did with the grapes with the white on there. Just a little tiny dab on the light side of our berries. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit of the darker red and clean up a little bit of this in a couple places. Just kind of tone it, tint it if I got a little bit too much of this red, or do a little mid-tone here. Just kind of look at your berries and see if you need any touch-ups, but I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to get our bird done. We're going to run out of time here. Oh, one last thing I want to do on here is my lavender. So I'm going to do the blue Ultramarine Blue and white for that. And I'm just going to kind of try to get both colors on here, the darker and the lighter tone, and just dab in some of that bright blue here and there. This looks great with these primaries, the yellow and the red really makes them stand out nicely. So don't forget this kind of cobalt periwinkle type blue. It's really, really pretty. These fall colors. All right, there we go. And again, you can go back in, add as much other details as you want. I'm going to add just a little bit of the brighter yellow to my yellow areas. Oh yeah, I got the yellow down here. That's where I touched my hand in it. I got it on the edge of my canvas there.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I like the colors on this though. If you want to do a tie for it, you can kind of put it through right here like rope. And let's go ahead and just I want to put a nail right here. I'm gonna have it coming through and attached right there. So we'll just put a little nail with some black. And then get the burnt umber and kind of mark up that rope a little bit so it's, boy, it got really watery there. I used really watery paint. Doesn't need to be that watery. There we go. Just have it come up underneath your wreath there. And being the colors that are already in our wreath, it kind of blends in there. It's not super obvious or noticeable. Let's put a little highlight on our nail head with white. There we go. I like it. All right, let's put a shadow on our board here. I should have done that. I thought of it before we started and I forgot to do this, but I want to put a shadow on my wood underneath my wreath to this side of it, since this is our light coming from this side here. Just a little bit of a shadow underneath the wood. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but just to pop it up a little bit. See that? And if I do it just up here, then that'll even influence. I'm not doing it on this side. I'm just doing it like right up under here and over here, and that'll really make that light source seem like it's coming from that side. And it's okay if it shadows some of the stuff on the wreath here. So this side could be getting some shadow on it anyway. So, all right, let's get our bird and we'll be done. We gotta get going here. These come together pretty fast though. Cardinals, being basically all one color, they're pretty easy birds. I think they're probably one of the most, I think, easy birds to paint. Simple shape to draw and really recognizable with their colors and their little plumes on the top of the head sticking straight up. Makes them really fun to paint. So I'm just making my bright red with my Cadmium Red Light and my Quinacridone Magenta again. And if you want to, you can use a cadmium red or a cadmium red medium or something that would probably be very similar to this. You can see it's going on, it's deepening that color a little bit. Okay, and then back here on the wings, I'm going to use this dark tone that we used on our berries here, and I'm just going to use that for my wings. So, and I'm just going to set my brush and pull, starting from the back, from the wing up, and pull in, and then pull up on the shoulder a little bit, leaving a little bit of space between these. And then I'm going to get my kind of medium red color, do some layers with that, and try to kind of blend it in now to the body. So then just kind of do some of this medium color to sort of blend it in right here. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit, darken that up a little bit more. I'm going to get some black, put in the area around the face. And I'm just going to pretend that that beak's not there for now. Okay. There, and then the eye is going to be right here, kind of at the back of this corner right there. Just make sure you get a nice little round eye. You won't be able to see it yet. We'll get a little bit of white. And if you want to, you can switch to a different brush, but I'm just going to use the very tip of this and very carefully kind of just outline around that eye just a little bit to make it stand out a little bit. Yeah, it's shiny. That side cam needs to be at a different angle. It needs to be up higher maybe. Not sure. And then I'm going to use some of this gray in the wings here. There's a little bit of it down kind of below and in the tail feathers. I forgot to paint in the tail feathers darker red too, so get some of that darker red and put those in there. Do that. And then on the front of the breast here, where the light's hitting it, let's use some of the more orangey red here and add just a little bit of white. And I'll just do some small feathers, using the tip pointing down and just kind of pulling short brush strokes in this curved line coming down the breast. Let's go ahead and get some of that Cadmium Red Light now and do a few with that. Really nice, bright, reddish. Nice. Okay. Not too hard. Getting some more of the black. I'm going to define the wings just a little bit right here. Get a little bit of darker red in there, or darker black, I mean. I feel like these could be a little bit longer too, maybe. Remember we said from the back of the neck to the tip of the wing is about equal from the base to the tip of the tail, so I think it could be a little bit longer. If you err, it's always going to be, most times people, when they paint birds, they do the tail too short. I'm not really sure why. It's like, I think an optical illusion maybe, but really check it after you do it. You'd be surprised how long they are. And then let's go ahead and give him some feet here. I'm just going to put little dabs with the black right under there. And get a little bit of highlight on it. And then we got to give him a beak because he looks a little sad right now. I'm going to get my round brush, get my cadmium yellow light. I'm going to add some of the cadmium yellow, or cadmium red light, I should say, and cadmium yellow light. Both of those together. I'm going to make a orangey red. That might be a little bit too yellow. Looking at it. Okay. So the beak is not really sticking out much. It's kind of coming straight at us in this picture. So it's going to be down here and at an angle this way. Like that. So look at the outside shape of it. That will really help you with your drawing. If you start there and look at what the borders look like, what is the border shape, like we did with these, where we start with the shape. If you kind of start with your shape, don't worry about your highlights at first, but just kind of get your overall shape of the beak right, and then it makes it easier to kind of fill in the rest of the details. So get the darker at the bottom of it. And I'm sticking my hand in something. I'm feeling wet on my arm here. Sorry. All right, taking off the drawing there. And then getting my white with my little bit of that orange and bringing it up here a little bit. Kind of bring it up just a little bit more than I did. Highlight the top there. Okay, and they kind of frown. Their little beaks kind of do a frown, so they're going to kind of be looking a little disappointed with things if we did it right. I need to let that dry. My initial layer's not dry, so I'm just kind of trying to add layers and it's not sticking. So let it dry. I need to zoom in so I can see his beak a little bit better because I feel like I might be missing the shape just a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit of white on the tip of my brush. And even though it's not super defined in my picture, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the eye, dab it on, and then pull through that wet paint and kind of round it out a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to get my black, create that gray, and I'm going to kind of clean up this outline that I did with it. Get more black, make sure I've got a good dark pupil, and just pull my feathers out a little bit around my beak. I can clean up my beak a little bit if I need to change its shape a little bit or whatever. Doing it right on time. Not too bad. There's a lot going on in this painting.
You're doing good.
Yeah, we're doing all right. I figured about 2 hours, so we're going to hit it right on. I'm going to zoom in on my picture of my bird and see if I did the beak the right shape. Okay. Yeah, I need to square it up a little bit on the bottom. So I'm going to get my orange and bring that beak down right here a little bit. Come on. It's really very close to the bird color too. It's not super orange like I thought it was. I was kind of putting orange on it, but it's really kind of close to the same color as the bird. So I'm going to do kind of a slight U here underneath and bring it up and back down here. And then the shape is right there. I kind of brought the face out a little too far, I think, but not a whole lot to do for it at this point. I'm going to bring the black out around it, and that'll help. Bring the black around the face right there and pull some of these feathers out. There we go. And then get my white with my light orange. And then let's shape out the top of the beak. So it's going to go right up there. And come out past that little U right there. There we go. Get a little bit of the darker red for the bottom of that. And I need to, let me see if I can get that off, because I feel like I brought that out a little too far right there. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Sorry. My picture was so little and it was so far away from me I couldn't see the shape. I was guesstimating, but I didn't quite get it right. All right, so it is literally pointing straight at us, almost, right here. The other eye is hidden back here. And then it kind of comes down, curves down right here. I'll have a traceable for this if you don't want to have to try to draw this. I don't blame you if you don't want to. This is probably one of the harder ways to do a beak, I should have to say. Doing it from a straight profile is much easier, so if we wanted to do that, we could. I'm going to bring it out a little bit more, I think, after I took that off. Bring it up. All right. Well, it looks okay from afar. It's not. There we go. And then let's really make a nice dark line. That always helps to kind of define it a little bit better, even if it's not super defined. I'm fiddling with this now. Well, what's happening is like it's just not drying. I need to dry it completely. It's lifting. So I'm trying to fix what I've done and then going over, and it's just ended up lifting and then doing more. And it's lifting some more. This is where, when I say leave acrylics alone when they're trying to dry, this is exactly what is happening right there. Because I've been trying to put too many layers in that spot, and it's just not gonna stick. So let it dry. I think I'm gonna put some green back there to kind of camouflage that edge a little bit. Some of our branches. Let me go back over this right here. That'll help. So let's do 2 little ropey bits. This is like that jute string. I use it in my garden, crafts, all kinds of stuff. There we go. And let's use a little bit of the darker burnt umber. To give it some texture and tint it. Especially where it goes up underneath. Okay. All right. I think it's dry. Let's try it again. I'll add a little bit of yellow to my white here. Part of the problem is I might have it too far away from my eye. There we go. All right. And then the cadmium yellow or cadmium red light here. I'm going to just add a little bit of brighter tone to the top part of the beak. There we go. And then use this kind of more reddish tone on the underside of the beak. If I can get some. Okay. All right, I think we might be done. What do you think? Look good. Did I miss anything? Did I forget anything?
Well, we got bird feet, so that's a good start.
Yeah. I got yellow everywhere over here, too. I just got yellow here, and I got yellow over here. I'm going to get a little bit of burnt umber and try to just tone that down. I just did that yellow because that's after I put the shadow in, so I must have set my hand in that yellow right after I did it.
You can get your bird shadowing.
Probably.
And there's no bacon in the wreath either, so if you wanted to add that, because bacon goes with everything.
bird. Make sure he's got some good little feathers there. What'd you say about bacon?
You don't have any in your wreath. Makes it more festive.
Bacon? Really? Why?
It's, because it goes with everything.
Bacon goes with everything.
See, I
Okay.
got everybody's attention now in chat. They were starting to drift off. I mean, what are the things that we don't talk about often is, not only are your tutorials incredible to learn how to paint, but they also help put you to sleep.
That's true. They're all asleep now.
Well, at least 2 admitted to it. Oh, somebody had asked if this was going to happen.
Heck yeah. I'm using splatter in. I don't love my Cardinal. I'm not really sure what I did to him. He just looks a little, his beak, something about the beak I'm not liking. I really probably should have left it alone because I liked it better when I first drew it. I'll keep messing with it. It just doesn't quite work for me for some reason. But I'll probably see it as soon as I stop. When I do the traceable, I'll be like, oh, the beak was too long on this side. Sometimes you get nose blind, when you've been painting the same thing over and over again, and you end up making the same mistake over and over again, and you just need to take time away from it and come back to it, and then it's obvious. I don't know why, but that happens, and so this is going to be one of those situations where I just need to take a break, and when I come back, the beak will look better magically. I don't know why, but it's true. I'm going to give him some highlights on the top of his head here. Just a little bit with that lighter pink color. And I'm going to get some of the darker red, brighter red, magenta. Go back over that a little bit. And really, like, those kind of tufts sort of will have like feathers that come up, so I'm going to kind of leave some feathers sticking up a little bit right there at the top. The moral of the story is having a good picture matters, and this picture that I'm using is super blurry. So it's hard to see the details, and for a detailed painter like I am, things like this beak, if I had a good detailed picture, I'd have an easier time of it. So
Who took that picture?
I don't know.
Is it me?
No, it was a free photo.
Oh,
I should have used the picture that you had taken from the garden. Those were good.
I was going to say, I need a new camera then. I was going to try to...
Go back in and adding that dark. Come on. My paint's also getting sticky, so it's not wanting to cooperate. There we go. Okay. Well, it is what it is.
There you go.
As they say, sometimes you just have to call it good. And I'm gonna clean up this side of his face. This is where you can do green, you can do the background color. Just making a green. I'm going to camouflage that. You can tell I'm frustrated with this bird because I keep messing with him. Usually these take like 2 minutes and then you're done. But this drawing is bothering me. And again, I think it's because he's half-faced away from us.
Want to do super chat while you fiddle?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's do it. I'm going to use these bells today
Okay.
because it's
A
Christmas
little
Eve.
early.
No, we're 2 months away, and
Okay.
you're painting a Christmassy looking.
It's
Kinda
fall.
scene, so-
Okay.
I don't know if that's fall, but
It's fall.
whatever. Okay, so the super chats came in early. A
Okay.
couple of them did, so
Nice.
they've fallen off my little thing here. So the first one came in from our friend Karen,
Uh-huh.
and she says, "Thanks, Angela, for your tutelage, and Mark, thanks for your rapier wit."
Rapier wit.
Yeah, that word. I love when they use big words that I don't understand. So.
It's all right. You have me for that. You do the math. I'll do the words. We're good. Together we'll conquer the world.
And then the next super chat came in from Linda. It says, "Thank you both for your time."
Oh,
So thank you, Linda. And again,
welcome.
thank you to Karen. Then we have,
thank you, Linda, for showing up.
wow, that's a weird thing that just popped up.
What was it?
It just says support.
You didn't do that? I thought you did that.
No. So I don't know what is going on there. So the next super chat,
The super chats aren't showing up.
no. So is from Leanne. There was no special message, but I think she really loved the dad joke. So that's what
Okay.
I'm going with.
Okay.
If you don't leave a message, I
Don't
claim it.
encourage him, Leanne. Say
No, it's definitely worth it. Yeah, that's what you get for not leaving a message. And then our final super chat was from Karen. Another Karen says, "Stunning painting, Angela.
Aw.
Thank you both for a wonderful evening."
Yay.
So thank you to the Karens.
Yes,
and to
thank you
Leanne.
guys. The Karens are bringing it tonight.
Oh. And Linda.
And Linda, yes.
And then we had a question about how do you come up with your ideas on what to paint? And have you ever wanted to paint but just didn't know what to paint? Because they've been kind of struggling.
That happens, yeah. I mean, I went through that. Honestly, it's weird. The more that you get in and just do some art if not every day, at least multiple times a week, once, twice a week, you will get into, it'll be easier because you'll kind of, your body kind of recognizes that kind of flow state of mind, and you find it, you'll find it easier, and more ideas will come. Because people ask me that all the time, and they're like, "Do you ever, have trouble figuring out what to paint?" But I used to, but now that I'm doing so many videos all the time, I hardly ever have. I take it back. I do wonder about what to paint, but it's not that I don't have ideas. It's just that I don't know what you guys want to see. I want to paint things that are going to appeal to our audience, and so that part of it is a guessing game for me. But I keep on every single device that I have. I take screenshots, I download pictures, I have a million ideas at any given time, and then if I get stuck, I just go back through and look at those.
She stops in the middle of grocery shopping and takes pictures of flowers.
I do. I do.
no,
I'm
but
always kind of on the lookout for ideas, and we'll be watching a movie and I'll take a picture of the screen. It's just kind of the part of my brain is always engaged in looking for things to paint now, whereas before, not so much. So that is a new, kind of a practice that you can get into. And then, I would just encourage you to have a kind of a list of ideas of things that you want to paint, and if you get stuck, just pull. I say, sometimes when people are stuck and not, I'm just adding another layer of brighter color here and there to give him a little more dimension. Set it on your calendar just like you would any other appointment, and make yourself sit down even if you don't feel like it, and do some art, something. Chances are, even if you just say, I'm going to sit down for 5 minutes and paint, or I'm going to just draw something or whatever, you will get into the flow, and the ideas will come. You'll want to continue painting, So when I went 6 months one time, I went 2 years without painting for a while. That was when I really, really burned out. But I did a mural because my son was born, and then I realized how much I missed art and got back into it. But when one of my friends died, she had done art with me, and so I couldn't do it. I don't know. I just was kind of mentally blocked, and I went 6 months, and this is when I was teaching, so I was still kind of doing kids classes and stuff, but I hadn't done anything for myself, just anything new for the gallery or anything. And I made an appointment with a friend that liked to paint, and I met her. So it forced me to show up, and then we did that for over a year, I think, and then I kind of finally broke through and got out of that funk that I had been in. But for me, just kind of setting it on my schedule to do on my to-do list, just like any other task, really helped me to kind of, and just do anything, like even pick something that's just super easy that you don't even think that, especially if you're kind of frustrated or in a funk creatively because you feel like you're I'm just adding details here while I'm talking. It helps to just kind of reawaken it, if you just kind of force yourself to do even a simple project, because then you get a little bit of confidence, because it's your skill level is higher than that project. So you can accomplish it pretty easily. Doing super simple projects like that, or even just like projects that are like skills like brushstrokes and then brushstroke workshops and things like that can help. Also just kind of get out of the funk, get you creating anything, and then you will kind of get back into the, whatever. Now, if it's like where to go to find images and things like that, I can't really say, because I get a million ideas from different places. So, that is, taking photographs of different things when you're on vacation and pulling from those. But yeah, I don't know. So that was way more answer than she wanted, probably.
Well, I think what people do, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to paint something different.
Right.
And perfectly too. And so,
right.
It's okay to paint 10, 15 paintings of hay bales in a field, if that's what you want to do to learn a technique.
100%.
There's some famous artists that done stuff like that.
Right.
So if you enjoy painting butterflies, well, just paint
butterflies until you're tired of it.
Or if you want to learn a new technique using like palette knives or something like that, then just work on doing that. It doesn't have to be.
When I'm like really, really stuck mentally, I'll like buy a new brush or buy a new piece of like a new paint that you haven't used before and try it, you know. Those kind of things really waken your creativity back up.
Oh, I see how that goes now. I'm buying this new brush because I'm struggling mentally blocked with this.
I am mentally blocked.
Oh, wow, that is a new excuse I haven't heard before, but
it works. It works.
I need to
I'm
use
telling
that
you.
with my tools.
Now, you can get in the rut of just buying. That's what I'm in right now with watercolor. Because I want to learn to paint watercolor. I watch all the videos. And I buy all the stuff. And I don't do it. So that can be. So don't just buy the stuff. You have to use it. You have to actually get it out of the package and use it. I make little color swatches. I enjoy that process. I like colors, so I'll get new watercolors and then I'll make little color swatches, and I love it, and then I don't do anything else with them. That's my confession time. Okay, so that's me.
Hi, my name is Angela.
Hi, my name is Angela. I am obsessed with paint colors, and I make little watercolor blobs when I get new colors, and don't paint with these are all my, I think.
And fingernail polish.
And fingernail polish is that I'm proud to say I've not bought any fingernail polish in more than 6 months probably, so I'm good with that right now for the time being. But no promises. I can't find my
That's okay.
I have my color swatch, but
That's
I can't
all right.
find it. Anyhow, you get the idea. All right, there we go. I'm done. I hate the face of the bird. I don't know what I did with her, but I don't like the bird. But we'll live with it.
We'll deal with it.
It happens. So sometime, hopefully, it won't happen to you while you're painting and live in front of people. But sometimes that just happens to me. Go figure. I'm sure I'm going to see what to do about him as soon as I stop this video. I just guarantee you I'm going to change it. But anyhow, I'm going to use my pen here. This is the Posca. PBO acrylic marker, 0.7 millimeter. It is in my Blick list, and I think it might be on my Amazon list too. So if you look down in the description, if you're interested in that, you can see all the brushes and stuff that I used tonight are in those lists. All right, that's it. We're getting out of here. It's over 2 hours now. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you not next week. We're going to be having a grandbaby next week. So we're going to be holding the new baby next week.
Yeah.
Sorry. Got priorities. We'll see you guys the week after that. Thanks for watching. Bye.